Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 22 of the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls. This episode is entitled Fields of Gold: How the Future of Bitcoin Shines Brightly, even when the price sometimes drops to a number unsightly. This Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls is a compilation of 4 clips from 4 separate podcasts. In this case, 2 from season 7, 1 from season 6, and 1 from season 8. These conversations are available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, anywhere really you listen to your favorite podcasts. And let's get to it. My guests for this episode clips are first with David Lancashire. It's the first person. I talked to him on April 2024. He was part of the Crypto Hipsters Presents Shooting from the Hip. It was the 7th episode in that series. Solving the misaligned incentive strategies with Bitcoin and Ethereum. David Lancashire is the co-founder of Saito. The second clip was from January 2024. I spoke with Rajiv Khemani, who is the co-founder and CEO at Auradine. Rajiv and I spoke about Bitcoin 3.0, how they're developing the next evolutionary phase of the Bitcoin ecosystem. The third conversation was Rajiv was from season 6. The next conversation is with Taha Abassi. It's from season 7. He's the chief technology officer at the Ferrum network. We spoke about how Bitcoin ordinals can pave the way for individual tokenized on-chain identities and financial inclusion globally. Now, we spoke in July 2024, shortly after or before the Litecoin Summit. And then the fourth clip, and this one is the only one on this episode that's in video format, as I started my videos in season 8. I spoke with Adam Bergman Esquire, who's the founder of IRA Financial. We spoke about how to build a tax-free retirement nest egg with self-directed Bitcoin IRAs. And that was from June 2025. I hope you enjoy this episode, this 22nd episode in the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls, entitled Fields of Gold: How the Future of Bitcoin Shines Brightly, even when the price sometimes drops to a number unsightly. I hope you enjoy this episode. And as always, the full episodes of these guests' podcasts are available on the Crypto Hipster podcast network and station. Enjoy. Thank you for tuning in.
I follow you, and I have to be open-minded about everybody's opinions towards Bitcoin because I've had people on here who believe that Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision are the actual Bitcoin and not BTC. So, you were talking about that, right? What are your thoughts? Has the BTC core been bastardized, and are these other chains, possibly the real Bitcoin?
The tribal Bitcoin wars, here's what I think is happening. They're all right and they're all wrong. What the Bitcoin core BTC people totally get, that nobody gives them enough credit for, is they see these problems and they say, if you scale these up, the private sector is going to eat you alive. Miners are going to bloat the blockchain to hell. We don't have a solution for that. And the blockchain is going to become so expensive to operate that the peer-to-peer nodes will leave. And, understanding the collective action problems, one of the solutions is you get volunteers to do things, because the problem comes when you hand things to people who are for profit. So one of the lessons is that a decentralized network that is provided by volunteers is very different than a decentralized network that's run by companies. So I actually really like the BTC people. I think they've got a They've got a sense of the problem, but they don't have a solution. So they can't scale Bitcoin because they have to rely on volunteer provision. And if you rely on volunteer provision, you can't have scale. You get the BCH people, they're very well intentioned. They're probably right that the blockchain could have scaled, but they're also wrong about some fundamentals. You know, if you go back to the block size wars, they'll say things like in public, don't worry about scaling because miners will pay for the peer-to-peer network. Stakers will pay for the peer-to-peer network. And the problem is that this isn't based in reality. It's actually not true. They say it and they think it's true. And if you ask them about it, they'll say things like, well, of course they'll do it because if they don't do it, nobody gets paid. And they just don't understand that they're dealing with a collective action, like in a collective action problem. If other people are paying, you don't pay. And if other people don't pay, you also don't pay. So what they don't understand is they don't understand that the incentive failures that they've got make non-provision more attractive than provision, even if nobody is providing this. So, you know, they look at BTC and they see the economic problems. We need fee throughput for security, technically this, technically that, but on the economics, they're wrong. And we can actually see this with BSV. You know, because BSV forked off, and what it's shown is the scaling approach has led to extreme centralization in the hands of one company. And that's exactly what Mancur Olson, and it's what economics predicts, right? You've got this free riding system and hegemonic provision with closure. They close access to things like their mempools, so nobody shares transactions. Why? Well, because if you're spending the money to run these data services, you don't want to give away all of the transactions, because if you put them in a block, it's money to you. And a lot of them, you know, like they don't read the white paper. Section 5 tells you exactly what nodes have to do to run Bitcoin. And in BSV, nobody does the first thing on that list, which is you share the unconfirmed transactions you've got so the data circulates and everyone has access to it.
You more focused on being a responsible partner for the energy ecosystem as opposed to some others?
Well, first of all kinds of data centers, AI data centers, Bitcoin data centers consume energy, okay? I mean, there's even talk about the generative AI explosion consuming a lot of energy. And the basic idea is that these data centers deliver a certain value. And the AI data centers deliver a certain value, the Bitcoin data centers deliver a certain value to the world. And it is all our responsibility to do it in the most sustainable fashion as we can across all kinds of data centers. And I think in the case of Bitcoin data centers, to deliver the value, and the value that Bitcoin data centers deliver is the security and stability of the Bitcoin protocol. It's a protocol that hasn't been hacked, you know, since its inception. That is incredible. I mean, if you look at the money people spend on security, it's incredible. I mean, we as a nation spend, you know, a tremendous amount of money for the security that we get through our Department of Defense and so forth. And a lot of technology companies spend a lot of money on security through the security infrastructure, the cybersecurity infrastructure. So similarly, I look at Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining providing that level of security and stability to the Bitcoin protocol, which frankly is unmatched at the scale that it is. But we have to make sure that it's sustainable. We have to make sure it's using renewable energy. We have to make sure that we are using it to provide value in terms of stabilizing the grid, which no other data center can do. I mean, you cannot shut off an Amazon data center just because someone else needs that electricity. You can do that with a Bitcoin data center, right? So I actually look at the Bitcoin data center as extremely positive for the world. And again, the regulation and the good intentions of Bitcoin miners will make that happen.
And where do you think that all these new, most recent development in Bitcoin, of course, everybody knows is a US ETF, right? So you have all these companies on Wall Street looking at the monetary side of it. So how do you partner with these Wall Street firms to help drive, positive energy effects of Bitcoin?
We are typically what we do is we work with the Bitcoin mining companies, and we work with increasingly with energy providers who have this wasted energy or unused energy, right? So those are two big groups. We also, in some cases, are partnering with countries or people that are partnering with countries, because we see more and more of this mining happening at a country level in countries like Bhutan, Australia, and the like. And so, we don't necessarily partner directly with the ETF providers, but if the ETF providers in the long term want to mine their own Bitcoins, certainly they could be our customers. As you know, mining a Bitcoin is, substantially cheaper than buying a Bitcoin. And so if you want that source of Bitcoin, certainly we are the people that can help you do that.
What you're telling me, it goes against the narratives. It goes against the narratives that Bitcoin is only a store of value and is not used for Satoshi's vision of peer-to-peer network. But if you create those ordinals and the music and all this budding ecosystem of art and culture and everything on Bitcoin, that does correlate to Satoshi's vision, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a very nuanced conversation that's actually happening with the core contributors right now. This is the for evolution of Bitcoin versus against evolution of Bitcoin discussion. I wouldn't even call them camps, because part of what makes Bitcoin great is that there's no one deciding party. We all decide together. What has made Bitcoin the most prominent, most dominant chain? We talk about BTC dominance charts, and when it sits at 50%, what that's really saying is that Bitcoin's value as this one asset, as this one chain, is greater than 50% of the tangible market cap of all other chains and their assets combined, right? That is massive. Well, how did that happen? That happened because Bitcoin, for many, many years, over a decade and a half almost at this point, has stuck to simplicity, to a simple use case, to reliability, to security. There's no easy way to hack a Bitcoin wallet, even though there has been hacks of DAOs and other ecosystems. But to this day, other than a phishing hack, a technical hack for Bitcoin has not occurred to this day yet, right? That we know of at scale. So, and that is because it has been kept simple. Even the proposal I'm talking about, the OP-Cap proposal, actually initially, this protocol was included in the Bitcoin core by Satoshi and was removed in 2010 because of the same fears that it will make the protocol more complex and introduce more vulnerabilities. So why are we talking about this now? I think Bitcoin needed that phase, this decade and a half phase, to establish its resilience, to establish its stability and security. At that time, the number of nodes running were far less. The capital at stake was far less. And the game theory has played out now. Now the amount of capital securing Bitcoin, the amount of nodes securing Bitcoin, even when you look at the amount of nodes running, the chart has gone up and to the right extremely, just at this halving with the Runes protocol coming out. So the security and the state of Bitcoin has evolved. And just like anything else, we need to have a discussion. Where do we go from here? So I think the solution of OP-Cat is really exciting because it only introduces about a 5 code lines chain to the protocol itself, to Bitcoin core layer 1 itself. It doesn't say that on Bitcoin layer 1, you need to add all of these interesting functionalities and DeFi apps and all that. What it says is that you can use it to enable L2s to add those functionality and then settle them on Bitcoin. So keep Bitcoin itself, add some changes to support the true verification and security, but keep those changes to a minimal and add the extra changes to more experimental L2s and side chains that may come along, right? Which I think is a happy medium of this, minute step evolution. Again, one small step for Bitcoin, one great step for crypto all over, right? And I think it can be really nice, and we can experiment with that and see where we end up.
I like that. One small step for Bitcoin, one giant leap for crypto.
Exactly.
I think I'm going to put that on my wall.
I might get a shirt for that. I love it too.
Yeah. All right. You're gonna have a lot of increased data load with ordinals, right? If they take off, which sounds like they are, and they will, how can the narrative is that the Bitcoin network is slow? It's other chains have come out with that say they're faster than everything, like Hedera, like Solana, are fast, right? How does the Bitcoin network, which has the narrative of slow, handle the increased data workload?
I think it shouldn't be faster. Bitcoin L1 itself should not be faster. It's the slowness adds to the security, the 10-minute block time, the difficulty adjustment period every 2 weeks. All of these mechanisms have proven over the last decade and a half that this is solid. It is as hack proof as you can make it. It has security benefits. It has game theory benefits. So I think it should remain that way. This is where I'm in favor of L2's experimenting to add scalability and speed and efficiency. And I think that's where that role lies. Scalability of Bitcoin will max out at about 100 million users, 100 million transactions even. And the reason that is the case is because you end up going to a space where transactions cost and transaction processing times will render the network useless. So to scale beyond that, to bring 1 billion users to Bitcoin, which is, in my opinion, the pathway to bring 1 billion users to crypto at large, even to users of Ferrum itself, you need to add scalability solutions while adhering to the security benefits that Bitcoin has brought. And that's where L2s are going to play a huge role.
So you said that you're looking to disrupt the retirement industry. The retirement industry has been massively disrupted over the past decade because all the companies moved from defined benefit plans to defined contribution plans, and that doesn't really help the employees and the 401k holders as much as it helps the companies, right? So how do we break down that beneficial to the companies and get the benefits back to the people and the employees again?
Yeah, so it's actually an excellent question. In 1974, ERISA was created. It really accelerated the growth of defined contribution plans, which are 401k plans. Prior to 1974, only large companies like GE, the auto companies, the airlines, they offered pension plans, which were called defined benefit plans, which basically provided pensions, defined benefits to their employees over many years. The problem with those plans, they are amazing plans, and I actually own 2 companies that do mini defined benefit plans for small businesses. The problem with those plans are very hard to run, very expensive, and they were putting companies literally into bankruptcy because they had all these defined benefits for many, many years that they had to basically account for. So the nice thing about defined contribution plans is they're easy to set up. They're not as costly for the employer. And what Congress felt, and depending if they're right or wrong, we'll see. I think they're right, is that if you make it too expensive for companies to offer these plans, no one's going to offer them. So then the employers are going to lose. So let's make it easy for the employers to offer pension plans in the form of a defined contribution plan, and then the employees can benefit. So you are right. In a defined contribution plan, it's elective. You have to put money in, whereas a defined benefit plan, the employer puts the money in for you. So what Congress has done is they've created things like profit sharing or safe harbor matches, where the employer would give, let's say, a 3, 4, 5% match in order to secure that the highly compensated employees would be able to max out. So they're trying to incentivize businesses to offer plans and also provide some benefits to the employees at the same time.
Got it. So there's been talk, and I don't know where I lost track of this. Maybe you can help me here. There's been talk over the past decade, that all the pension plans are going to go bankrupt. So, and we have a massive pension problem.
Yeah.
I want to find out what the state of that problem is and how companies like IRA Financial can help solve that problem.
Yeah, so that problem's tied into pre-1974 defined benefit plans. Companies like GE and Ford and American Airlines, they're literally, these plans are underwater. What's going to happen is the government's going to step in, and there's something called, these plans are guaranteed basically by the government. So they will get made whole, at least in most respects. So what can we do? So what Congress wanted to do is the IRA world was basically created to allow individuals to supplement money they've saved in a 401k with additional savings in an individual retirement account to basically boost their own retirement nest egg as a supplement to what they contribute in 401k, but also what they get from Social Security. So there's different types of, I'm working on a really interesting annuity product that's going to be able to give guaranteed returns to folks that enter the program to basically solve what you're trying to get at, is basically allowing employees to get access to retirement savings in an efficient manner.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. But now I also have to get at something else because, like I said, I'm almost 54. I'm going to be 60, and it's going to be in a blink of an eye. The thoughts are that Social Security in the U.S. is going to be bankrupt too. That.
Yeah.
So how can Bitcoin help? Solve that issue.
So first of all, I don't think it's going to go bankrupt because no politician's going to let it go bankrupt, because whoever lets it go bankrupt will never get elected ever again, and their party's not going to get elected for 25, 30 years. So I don't think that's going to happen. But what could happen, and this is the importance of Bitcoin, this is why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin, especially the last year or so, 2 years since COVID, is the US dollar. We're going to have inflation and we're going to have a weakening US dollar, because what the government's going to have to do is they're going to have to print money. Okay. They're going to have to print money to cover all our deficits, all our debt, all our spending, which ties into, Social Security, right? We're not going to have enough money that we collect. So we're going to have to print money to keep Social Security standing. So that's why I'm bullish on Bitcoin, because it's I think a really good hedge against a weakening US dollar and especially inflation.